Good evening, folks. It's Diamond with the Oppenheimer Ranch Project Magnetic Reversal News in Shinrin-yoku, bringing you a grand solar minimum update Thursday, February 11th at midnight, 2021. The models are in, and there are storm after storm after storm to move across the U.S. as we end February. And it's looking pretty significant in many regions. And the big story is going to be the freezing in the south and the ice. Ice through Friday a.m. Arrival times of ice, all times local. Slick travel, local power outages, and we'll get to that. But significant ice through many states here. Tennessee, Kentucky, southern Missouri, and Arkansas. So heads up. Big ice storm, multiple day storm, and you need to be prepared. Keep calm. It's boom time. Proper prior preparation prevents piss poor performance. And that's a boom during a brutal ice storm that could leave hundreds of thousands in the dark and the cold. We just showed you the map. Those are the facts. Let's check Power Outage US and see how it's coming along. We're just going to update it and refresh it for you real quick. Kentucky, the big winner, 22,000 out, and that's just the beginning. Okay, so it's Wednesday going into Thursday, and that ice is for the next 24 hours of power. So this region should light up with more power outages. That's 22,000 now without power in Kentucky. Getting plucky. 5 storms in 10 days loom, like we said, and shut up. Amid bitter cold in the North United States. That's true. Icy blasts pummeled parts of the U.S. Midwest on Wednesday. The first of 5 storms threaten a blitz of snow and sleet from Washington State to Washington, D.C., as far south as Louisiana and Mississippi. Frigid temperatures as low as minus 36 degrees. That's minus 38 Celsius in Cutbank, Montana on Wednesday. Were blamed on a polar vortex threatening to move south as it hovers on the Canadian border. Now, we all know, watching the channel, that this is the breakdown of the jet stream due to the descent into the grand solar minimum, coupled with the waning magnetosphere and the magnetic excursion we're living. So stay tuned for more. Oh, yes, we have internet. Live updates, winter storm warning in effect for parts of Ohio and Kentucky, and we just showed you where that ice storm would possibly be. Winter storm warnings also issued for snow and freezing rain in Portland in the Northwest, and we reported on that yesterday. Record snow coming to the Northwest over the coming weeks. Tracking 3 winter storms in central Virginia over the next 3 days as well. More snow, up to 4 inches, is expected in the Philly area into Thursday morning. Can you imagine? And weather timeline, Houston will be dangerously cold with temperatures in the 20s. Ice, sleet, and snow possible. This is a multi-day event from Austin to Houston. Check it out.
Into our area, we all need to be ready for the possibility of some seriously frigid temperatures in the coming days.
David Paul keeping an eye on it. David, I haven't heard you say
that hasn't
anything about snow, or have you?
Well, I think there may be some snow on Monday, along with sleet and freezing rain. Monday's going to be a very interesting day, as I think we get a little bit of everything, especially Monday afternoon. Now, earlier in the show, we talked about what happened back in 1989, the big freeze with the busted pipes. On that time in December of 1989, Bush Intercontinental Airport dropped down to a low of 7 degrees. That's the coldest Bush has ever been. The record low for Houston all time is 5 degrees, set back in 1930. So, 7 degrees, that's bitter cold. At the moment, the lowest I'm forecasting Tuesday morning is 16 degrees, which is cold enough to damage and break those exposed PVC irrigation pipes and maybe some other things around your house as well. Certainly the plants and, of course, people and pets need to be protected. But the really cold stuff, the freezing weather, starts, I think, Sunday night, lasts through Monday, lasts through Tuesday. We may not see temps get back above freezing until Wednesday afternoon, and then only by just a little bit. Tonight and tomorrow, it is central and north Texas that gets the winter weather activity. They're going to see sleet and freezing rain in here, and in fact, it's already beginning to develop just north of Austin and up in the Dallas area right now. Austin's just a little bit above freezing. Dallas is below freezing. There's Houston. We've dropped into the 40s now after being in the 50s most of the day. The pink, that's a little bit of freezing drizzle and sleet now developing up here in North Texas along the I-20 corridor. This will expand tonight and tomorrow. Travel impacts. There will be some in Dallas tomorrow. tomorrow. And then Austin just a little bit above freezing. Tyler a little bit above freezing, but you can see not by much. And there's the pink, that freezing rain and sleet getting close to Austin and Tyler. So any travel north on I-45, north on I-35 will be impacted by winter weather tonight and tomorrow. Temperatures locally. 47 at Bush, Hobbies 51, Galveston at 65, Mont Belvieu 65. This is the last of the warm air. It's 38 in College Station. That cold air is finally actually making a move and will push off the coast tonight and tomorrow. And what I find interesting about this setup is look at the trajectory of the cold air. I mean, it's coming right down the heart into Texas. It's not going off to the east, not going off to the west into the mountains. It's coming right into Texas, which kind of concerns me. I think maybe some of these forecast temperatures that I have up there are a little bit too warm.
You heard it here. Texas, the nexus of the schmexus, could be too warm. And that is a warning to prepare now for things to come in the days ahead. So there's that. Dangerous ice storm lashes the south ahead of snow and record cold. Snow and record bitter cold are expected to follow a dangerous ice storm hitting the south. Right in the mouth. CBS New York chief weather Lonnie Quinn is tracking the storm. Now, Nora O'Donnell says tonight about 100 million Americans are under winter weather alerts. A dangerous ice storm to push across the south. And let's hear what some of these tool bags just have to say, shall we? Let me just close my picture off here.
Another one in Texas. We have another one off the Pacific coast and another one farther out into the Pacific Ocean. So basically, wherever you live in our country, it's every other day or it's
every other day. Wait a minute. That was not supposed to happen. We did not ask that to happen, and we apologize for any infractions we may have shown you. Well, so there's a storm coming every single day, and let's break it down according to the mainstream, which is kind of lamestream. Here's your Thursday lining up. All day Thursday, you're going to see snow moving into southern Pennsylvania in a big way. And also, that system is going to move through the south and drop some snow in western Tennessee, in northern Kentucky, and throughout Kentucky as a whole, as well as West Virginia, Maryland, and southern PA, picking up the highest totals on Thursday. Hey. And that's going to continue to dump snow, even in the D.C. region. See it dumping there through your Friday. And there's your Friday totals. Friday, heavy snow is going to move into the northwest, including southern Washington State and northwestern Oregon. And then we see here up 16 inches, maybe 2 feet, moving down all the way down the spine in the Sierras. Light snow in the Rocky Mountains. A storm picking up in the Four Corners on Friday will explode on Saturday. Here's your Saturday through your Sunday morning, and you can see that heavy snow in the northwest. Washington State and Oregon is going to be epic. 3, maybe 4 feet of snow in some regions. The snow is going to continue in the Sierras, up to 3 feet in many regions, and then the Rocky Mountains are going to get pummeled. We're talking, 8 inches to a foot in all regions, and then Saturday night into Sunday, it explodes in the Four Corners region, bringing snow to most of New Mexico, large portions of Arizona, and that's going to dump down into Texas, the nexus of the schmexus, like a bomb, like a boom. Oklahoma is looking to get slathered with 8 to 10 inches across the entire state. Higher air. Look at these totals here in South Texas, Southeast Texas, the nexus of the schmexus. Totally amazing. While we get buried in up to 3 or 4 feet of snow in the region, we'll be returning from this dry area this weekend. We're going to be driving right through this hellish region. And then that storm is going to pick up the Valentine's blizzard that we talked about. It's going to start Valentine's Day here, and it's just going to continue up at the east, to the northeast, bringing heavy snow totals to Kentucky, eastern Tennessee, and Arkansas. It looks like the big winner. Southern Ohio, a big winner. Most of western PA, most of all of PA and New York are going to really benefit from this. And then another system right behind that adds insult to injury to the northeast and the central Midwest, the eastern Kentucky, western Kentucky, I'm sorry, and the Tennessee Valley, man. It's just going to get pummeled there. It's currently showing 28 to 32 inches in a large swath. So we're going to keep a close eye on this as it develops and as our petroglyph trip out west stays dry in the White Eye there. That's where the Green River is. We're going to be golden, but we're going to be traveling back through this region on Sunday. And our fun day is to drive through 2 or 3 feet of blizzard conditions in the Four Corners region. So say a prayer for us. Record cold invades Moscow. Requires blowtorch. The Autobahn chaos in Germany and summer chills blamed for mass bird deaths in Australia. Take a look at some of those buried cars. As the mainstream media doubles down on its catastrophic global warming narrative, Diamond and others blow a hole in the waters, including Cap Alon over at Electroverse. As reported by the Moscow Times, Western Russia has been hit by bitter cold this week and has joined central and eastern regions, which have been battered by brutal Arctic lows. Now, unfortunately, this is going to be followed by epic snows, and we're going to show you those models in a minute. So Moscow and that region are being pummeled by sub-zero temperatures, which is going to be followed by blizzard conditions for days. Now, the region in Western Russia, which has been battered by brutal Arctic lows, have seen temperatures at minus 58.3 C. That's minus 73 Fahrenheit. Almost the coldest temperature ever recorded and beyond for months now. Moscow is suffering its coldest weather of the past decade, according to the MT article, with Muscovites suffering lows of minus 4 Fahrenheit, minus 20 C. Moscow was almost minus 20 C today, so the water in my drink bottle froze when they were walking. Look ahead, Moscow's big freeze is only expected to intensify. The GFS has the majority of Europe under polar air mass Monday, February 15th. So this is going to be a complete freeze out and chill down. And if you look at the snow totals here moving out in the Moscow region, they could be seeing 2, 3, 4 feet of snow in some of those areas. Italy, all the way down to the southern coast, is going to be picking up heavy totals as well. Portions of France are going to get hard hit as well, picking up maybe 15 to 20 centimeters in some regions. So a very active system, as well as that lake effect on the Black Sea here. We should call it sea effect, that are going to be buried in 2 meters here on the eastern shores. So big heads up for the people living in the Black Sea, especially the eastern shore. Hail! It's America's most underrated climate risk. We've been warning about it for years here. As cosmic rays increase, hail nucleation will increase. It is, after all, how lightning forms. Hail in thunderstorms form the lightning, and the bigger the hail, the bigger the lightning. And the bigger the lightning, the bigger the hail. And the bigger the cosmic rays, the bigger, well, everything gets bigger. The bigger the crushed windshields, and the bigger the hail. Even in winter, here is ping pong ball size hail falling yesterday in Florida, which caused some power outages, and it rained an inch or 2 in just a few hours in many regions, as well as being pummeled by the ping pong balls. Helmets may be necessary in the future. Now, here's a very sad story. As a boy, I grew up thinking that the coelacanth was an actual live fossil. In 1932, they found the first version of this live fossil off the coast of Africa. And now we know it also lives in Sulawesi, Indonesia. Imagine that.
Let's turn now back to that Arctic blast that is moving into...
Let's not. Let's get back to the coelacanth because they're pretty impressive. Now, they thought this was in the Cretaceous, there was a fish just like the coelacanth, and it had these same fins, these same protrusions that look like limbs, but they've done genetic analysis on the actual fishes, the species that currently exist, and they are multiple separations away from the fossil during the Cretaceous. In fact, most of the genetic diversity came in this fish 10 million years ago, which is 55 million years after its supposed extinction 65 million years ago during the Cretaceous. Whew, that's a lot to say. But the coelacanth is a lungfish. It has a very unique air bladder and is the closest to a land mammal that's swimming underwater, while it looks completely like a fish. And what they think is that its genetics possibly has some type of code in it to keep it from actual evolution, changing. So that could be happening. It is our contention at this channel that evolution is not gradual and like Darwin said, but it's episodic and periodic, just like the cosmic catastrophe cycle, driven by magnetic reversals and the influx of cosmic rays. The only thing we're aware of that has the ability to mutate genes, cosmic rays. So there's that. Potentially habitable exoplanet candidate spotted around Alpha Centauri A in Earth's backyard. That's just a few light years away, and there could be civilization, well, nearby. They'll be the first to die before we go. So there's that. Proper prior preparation, proper prior planning prevents piss poor performance in the magnetic reversal and the grand solar minimum and the end of the empire, which you're living. Now, if you're uninformed and you don't know we have another channel, which I say every day on every channel and every podcast, Magnetic Reversal News on YouTube needs your support. We need more subscribers over here. We have great content and just a few thousand people watching these videos. I put up an excellent expose last night on the magnetic excursion that we're living. If you want to get up to speed, watch this 12-minute video and learn a little bit as we recap as we move forward on updated information. And not only that, many people send me questions after this podcast, which were answered in the podcast. So I shake my head and wonder, did they even watch the podcast, or did they know that if they go below the video, there are links? And in fact, there were links to the role of geomagnetic field intensity in the late quaternary evolution of humans and large mammals. Now, in layman's terms, that means that during magnetic excursions, there is evolution in humans in mammals. So, where does evolution come from? Increased cosmic rays. Case closed. Now, an excellent breaking news, big update for free speech, which can you even believe this is happening during this administration? A good day for Peter Ridd, and this is because it's coming from Australia, not from the U.S. We just had Jennifer Marahasi on the show. We were talking about the Peter Ridd case, how he was sacked from university after he went against the mainstream dogma in Australia that, the reefs are dying and being bleached and burning up. And he went out there and he said, no, they're not. And he is one of the most respected and peer-reviewed scientists. And he just went against the grain, and they said, you're fired. Well, he actually won an appeal, and then it got overturned again in the local Supreme Court or something like that. And he then got re-sacked. And they said, no, you can sack him. It's your freedom of speech. But it isn't, because there are clauses at university that say that there is integrity in individual research, and it doesn't matter what you research or what you find. You're allowed to tell us your results. And as of today, just hours ago, Australian government, the highest court, the Supreme Court, which, according to this article, seldom sees cases. Now, if you don't know about Peter Ridd, Peter's dismissal for saying that because of systemic problems with quality assurance work from the university's Coral Reef Studies Center, it was untrustworthy. And his subsequent travails did not go well. No, he got sacked because he said they can all suck it because they're not doing actual science. They're simply writing papers that are book reports of propaganda to get pats on the back. Well, what may be less immediately appreciated is the significance of today's court's decision. The High Court does not agree to hear most cases in Australia. They consider cases that have a wider legal implication. And this case has the widest legal implication I've ever seen to protect the freedom of speech from scientists that want to say something that goes against the consensus, which, by the way, has nothing to do with science and everything to do with assholes. Dogmatists. Pardon my French. Peter's legal team focused today on the academic intellectual freedom clauses in most university enterprise agreements. And guess what? The courts were like, yeah, you're right, and they're wrong. Peter's case will be heard later this year. And in the meantime, today's ruling not only represents a hopeful sign for academic freedom and for free speech in Australia, but also strikes a blow to the put-down used to dismiss the credentials and credibility of all those who question environmental absolutism, including Diamond and many other people who have been subjugated to demonetization and the disenfranchisement of what they're saying. My credentials are just as good as any climatologist. In fact, they're better because I have a very limited time frame when I actually believed in the consensus. When I actually delved into the facts, they struck me right in the face, and it was a disgrace. The disgrace is the manipulation of data, the homogenization of data sets to meet a narrative that is proposed and supported by governments worldwide. And this is the green agenda, which states that you create carbon dioxide, therefore humans are bad, climate is good, and we are destroying the climate because we are useless eaters that just burn stuff. Now, what they use is ice core data, like the Vostok, which you're looking at here, to bastardize the actual factual information. And what we've known, and what I've known in academia since the 90s, looking at these in high resolution, we can find that the ice core data shows a huge lag in temperature rise and then followed by CO2 rise. So the red line will go up and then the CO2 goes up after. Now what they've done is they've hidden this from you. You could see a little evidence here. The red spikes here, and thousands of years later, the blue spikes. That's a lag time. That means the blue did not cause the red. And that's what everyone in the world believes. CO2 drives temperature. But Joe Nova has uncovered some of the facts and has broken them down in layman's terms for people that are interested. And there have been high-resolution studies, specifically 100,000 to 150,000 kiloyears ago, where they looked at those bubbles in the ice and they determined quite conclusively that the temperature rises 1,000 or more years before the CO2 rises. And you can clearly see it here. CO2 is dropping as temperature rises. Guess what happens to this yellow? It's going to go up eventually, but only after the temperature rises by a factor of several thousand or several hundred years. Those are the facts. Facts versus fiction. That's what we deal with on this channel. Will you be a believer in facts, or will you be a believer in fiction? It's your call. And that's a boom to knowledge. Proper prior preparation prevents piss poor performance. Proper prior planning prevents piss poor performance as well. Which will you be doing? We know what we're doing. Thanks for watching. Subscribe to the channel if you haven't. Share this with like-minded people. Ask a good question. I always read every single comment. I know, that's insane. But that's the only way to do it. You do it the right way. You have integrity. You take the time. You respond. 99.9% of YouTubers don't even look at the comments. They just pretend they do. Well, we have integrity at the channel. Become a Patreon. Share this with like-minded people. Share the knowledge. And be safe. We love you. And that's a boom. Click on one of the other boxes to gain more knowledge. And we'll see you at the petroglyphs in a day or so.